This is Abby Johnson with Upper News coming to you from San Francisco for Google I/O. And here with me right now is Matt Cutts of Google. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Very well. Like your hair.
Oh, thank you. It's like Chuck Norris hair. It can go bald and grow back. Boom, boom, boom.
Boom, boom, boom. I think our last interview had just a little stubble, so it's looking nice.
Thank you. Yeah, it came back a little more gray than I expected. I think there must have been some spammers giving me stress or something like that.
Probably, I'm sure of it. Well, let's get down to business and talking about several things that you all have going on. First off, just give us a quick little update on caffeine.
Sure, yes, absolutely. Caffeine is proceeding apace. Things look good. We'll probably have more to announce in a couple weeks or so, so maybe if I see WebPro News at SMX Seattle, we can talk a little more then. But yeah, things are looking good on caffeine.
Well, definitely we'll be looking forward to those announcements. And also, let's talk about Google Squared, that recent release.
It's pretty neat. They've got this little thing on the left-hand nav now where it says, I think, something different. And it's basically, if you search for maybe Toyota, maybe you want related things, but not completely identical. Maybe you want Honda, maybe you want Ford, stuff like that. So it's not just completely related, but it also can be used in a bunch of other places within Google. So it's kind of like, think of it almost like a sideways query. You search for one thing, and it's not just, exactly the same kinds of more topic-specific stuff. It can be going laterally a little bit and sort of suggesting things that were off the wall, a little different, but still really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it could bring other questions and ideas to mind as people are searching.
Yes, and Google Squared, if you haven't used it, is a lot of fun because you can say like social networking, or you can start with Facebook, and it will give you all kinds of social networks that you've never even heard of, like country-specific ones. So, a lot of people do standard keyword research, and they forget about some of these tools that are not as well used or as commonly used, but can still spark a lot of ideas.
Very interesting. Well, in our last interview, you touched on this subject, talking about, it seems this webmasters are so almost obsessed with PageRank anymore, but there are so many other signals that they really should pay attention to as well. So if you could sort of talk about those other signals and maybe what they really should be focusing on as well.
Sure, absolutely. So PageRank is one of only, more than 200 signals that we use. We like to call it BO, backlink obsession, and so many people get fixated on that because that's what they can see is toolbar PageRank. But we were just in this site review, and the very first site that we looked at had no text on it. Like literally no text. The only text was in the meta keywords field, which we don't look at. So a thing that people need to remember is that the content of the page matters, the URL matters, the title matters, very simple stuff. Use words that users are going to type, not just the words that you think they're going to type. And if you start to think about factors like that, factors like proximity, factors like all the stuff that we're thinking about, that can really help a lot. So PageRank at this point is pretty much, the process runs every 3 or 4 months like clockwork, like April 1st, new PageRanks come out. And frankly, there's not anybody at Google who's really like, okay, time to push the PageRanks. That stuff is more or less handled, by the computers with our additional opinions added on top. But it's not as if, somebody's checking that, right when April 1st comes out. So people are like, when's the next PageRank update? I'm like, well, add 90 days to whenever the last PageRank update was. We tend not to be that interested in it that more. So it's not like we're naming each individual PageRank update or anything like that.
So do you get sick of hearing it so much?
I don't get sick of it, but I'm sort of like, well, it's predictable. January 1st, look for it. April 1st, look for it.
How many emails will you get that?
Yeah, it's like, everybody's like, oh, I spotted the PageRank update. I'm like, probably a cron job could spot the PageRank update. But at the same time, I understand. People do get enthusiastic. They want to see their PageRank goes up. They get a little stressed if their PageRank goes down. So I do understand why people are really interested to see. It's just there's a lot more else to pay attention to.
All right. Well, let's also talk about the new redesign to the search results page. Lots going on there.
Oh, it's really cool. So Patrick Riley and a bunch of different people have worked on a great system that basically says, you know what, let's take this left-hand navigation, which you could always kind of get to for the last few months before by clicking, and let's just surface it all the time. And the thing that's really important, is that it's different depending on what you're searching for. So if you're searching for Tom Cruise, you're more likely to see images and then options for the different types of image search. So you can say, show me the color images or show me large images. Whereas if you're searching for Obama, you're more likely to get real-time results and, updates and stuff like that. So what I like about it is it surfaces way more ways to slice and dice your data. And even if you're not a power user, if you've got those options on the left-hand side, you're more likely to kind of try to explore a little more. So that's a good opportunity for webmasters and SEOs. You know, you don't have to be number one. Maybe you can be number one in a slightly different area that people will find by exploring.
So do you think that maybe SEOs just are focused so much on those few areas, and they need to embrace more in order to get found more?
Yeah, you know, some people get really obsessed with their one trophy phrase on their number one ranking for their number one web search, and they don't think about things like image search or video search or, you know, blog search or book search. You know, people, it's not that hard to write a book. It can be done. And people also tend to think only about search engines when they might want to think about social media, things like Twitter, things like Facebook, because you want to go where the people are. And people aren't only searching, they're hanging out online. You know, they're on forums. So I think a lot of the times you can sort of think, a lot of the time you can think about, where can I show up besides just number one? What are the phrases people are going to type in that show buying intent, where they really would like to get your product? And if you're paying attention to those sorts of areas and not just the trophy phrases, then you can find a lot more opportunities.
Well, and there will always be new things that come up. I mean, the web is continuing to grow, so they have to budge at one point or another.
You would think, but there's still so many people locked in like they're going to rank check, and they're going to rank check on their favorite phrase, and they're missing everything else going on. So hopefully a few of these SEOs get dragged kicking and screaming into 2010, so we'll see.
All right, still lots of opportunity out there.
Absolutely. Yes, lots of opportunity.
All right, well, Matt, thank you so much for sharing all this with us. We appreciate it.
Totally. Always good to see you.
You too. This is Abby Johnson with Webpreneur News, coming to you from Google I/O in San Francisco.